Call this meeting to order, pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda today is we have some appreciation for Ray and Dave for their time on the board. They were not able to, one of them was not going to be able to attend our meeting on the 18th, so graciously were able to come today. Follow that with a work session chaired by Sharon O'Hare. Discussion on items which could be upcoming motions at the next general meeting. Update from Val Thompson on the Yacht Club. Liaison reports, if any. CIP update, Bob Thompson, adjournment, and with special note at the bottom so everybody knows, and Sharon will get into this a little more in detail, but this is going to be an open session as we go through various issues. There's not going to be a specific time for public comment. You will be invited to be involved after time to be a part of the discussion. So there's not a separate piece of time on the agenda for that. It's everybody will have an opportunity to join in across the board as we go through the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have any changes or adjustments to the
Yeah,
agenda?
Mr. President, notwithstanding the note at the bottom of the agenda, this board has not agreed to what really a work session looks like. So I took the liberty of drafting a motion for their consideration that I would like to plug in after the presentation of appreciation gifts,
Okay.
so that we will have a defined, if you will, policy or format for these meetings going down the road in writing.
So in order to define a meeting with no motions, we're going to start with a motion.
Yep.
I just want to see if I can
Apparently
understand that
so.
clearly.
Apparently so. Wasn't quite sure how to work that in without it being a motion or being the work that being here.
Well, if I may, will this motion explain where in law that's allowed? Since I haven't been able to find it in Robert's Rules or any parliamentary procedure that would say that if you're having a meeting, there can't be a motion made.
Robert's Rules says pretty clearly, if you're asking me as a parliamentarian, that a body can establish
This sounds
the
like
rules.
an awful lot about during the discussion.
Okay, we'll do it during discussion.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
And I'd like to ask one other thing, if I
Sorry
may,
about
about the
that.
agenda.
Yeah.
We don't have, I can see, as we have in every agenda since I've been on the board, a place for public comment. Now, I know you said at the bottom that, we're going to have this free flow. But my reading of the Maryland Homeowner Act says that governing bodies shall provide a designated period of time during a meeting to allow lot owners an opportunity for public comment. Why wouldn't we put that in there? Why would we take that out? Why would we pull that away?
Marty, this is a different kind of meeting. We've already announced that the public is going to get to talk at any time on the topics we're talking about. That's the time that's been set aside for them. I'm sorry, the rigidity of some of this is just losing me. It's opening up the entire meeting for them to participate as opposed to a window.
No, it's allotting, it's following the law and doing as we've always done it.
Now, I got a question.
There's the
Marty,
law and then there's the intent of it.
can I?
If we're going to debate the intent of the law, I'd like a judge present, please.
Good job, go ahead.
I have a question for Marty. Which is more advantageous to the membership? A free-flowing, open agenda whereby they can make comments on any specific topic within the framework of a working session, or a designated time frame at the end of the meeting when they can make public comments on one of, looks like 4 topics here, out of sequence.
May
I'm sure, it's a question, it's a legit question.
Here's what scares me about it, okay?
Yeah.
And I'll read it to you. Upon being recognized by the chair of the work session, I don't think that's a right we have to make. This is the membership we represent.
That's true.
The law says public comments will be set aside. I say, what difference does it make? That's all I'm saying. It ought to be in the agenda. I'd make a motion, but we're not allowed to.
Correct. You know what, guys?
I'm done.
I'm done. I'm done.
I'm done.
This
I'm
is a
done.
working session. I'm not gonna turn this into a circus again. I'm sick of that.
Again,
All right, yes.
I was just gonna
Okay,
wonder when that
I'm
was.
done with this. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda? So moved. Adopted. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. We have had some little homework done here. For the two gentlemen who we're going to recognize. We'll start with it. This is a little homework over what happened while these two guys were hanging around, sitting around this table. And this is not a public statement of whether they voted for or against it, but it did happen while they were on their watch, and I consider all of it to be positive. We have a past president of our organization who served 6 years in a row, Dave Stevens. Ray Unger, who served many years and was vice president as well. Here's some of the things that happened while these two guys were around. Well, we got a new yacht club coming. Revised bylaws and resolutions. That was an awful lot of work. We have a new community center sitting over there. We have a new dog park dedicated to year-round. We're selling non-ethanol fuel now. We got casino money we didn't used to have. We have drainage work that's going on in association with the golf course and other areas. Plus, we have golf greens that have been repaired. We have a new skate park. We celebrated both our 40th and 45th years of existence as an association. We have curbside recycling now, which we didn't have. We have upgraded tennis facilities. And the most important one is that these two gentlemen came in second in the penguin swim by going into the ocean as part of the team that came in second for the fundraisers for AGA.
I was naked.
And we also have a brand new yacht club and a club pool. First person I want to bring up here to recognize is a rather cuddly gentleman who, if you've had a chance to sit on his porch and talk to him, you'll understand the history in many ways of our association. And with great appreciation, Ray, would you come up here? Certificate of appreciation presented to Ray Unger. With sincere appreciation for your community service as a member of Ocean Pines Association Board of Directors. Correct? Thank you very much. You're still taller than that. You're prettier too. And Dave?
We can make any rules you under Robert's rules.
Certificate of appreciation presented to Dave Stevens with sincere appreciation for your community service as a member of the Ocean Pines Association Board of Directors. Dave, 6 years in a row. Thank you very much.
Okay, no, just the word, taking this opportunity. I would really like to extend my appreciation and thanks to the many, many people over the 6 years who have come up to me and taken the time to offer words of encouragement. Anybody who says that this is a thankless job doesn't know the people of Ocean Pines. It's not true. And other than that, I'll see you next year.
Well said.
Tommy,
Both of you.
When there was an article in the paper a couple of weeks ago that Dave and I had decided to retire from the board, and I went to Bob and I asked him if the retirement income was the same as it is on the board, and it is.
I got kicked off as the word.
We've added an extra zero, Ray, but it's on the wrong
Oh,
side.
thank you.
of this
Okay.
thing, so. Okay, we will move on to the motion from Dan.
Each of you has a copy of this. I'll just read through it. This is a motion for a policy on conduct of work sessions of the Board of Directors. And I move that the board accept it. it reads, from time to time, the Ocean Pines Association Board of Directors may conduct work sessions in order to discuss matters on an informal basis. This policy addresses the rules applicable to such work sessions. A work session is a form of special meeting and, as such, is governed by the Maryland Homeowners Association Act, let's call it the Act, and OPA's bylaws. The Act requires that all meetings be open to members of the association unless closed for one of the reasons specified in the Act. Notice of such working sessions must be published 3 days prior to the session. Based on the above, the following rules shall apply to work sessions of the board and its standing committees. 1. Work sessions shall be open to the public unless closed in accordance with the Maryland Homeowners Association Act and OPA's bylaws. 2. Notice of work sessions shall be provided in the same manner as any other special meeting. 3. An agenda shall be prepared for the work session. 4. Members of the Ocean Pines Association will be permitted to participate in the work session once recognized by the session chair. 5. Robert's rules are suspended and do not govern the conduct of work sessions. 6. The board will discuss agenda topics, but no motions or formal votes will be taken on any topic.
Do I have a second on it?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Of course, I don't know how you suspend the bylaws. I mean, Robert's rules are a major part of our bylaws. They mentioned the 406, 515, and 1007 that I just picked up a quick look. I mean, that's how we conduct our business. It's in our bylaws. Why don't we suspend Title 11B while we're at it? Then we can close the door and get all these people out of here. I don't believe you can do it. I don't believe you can do it. I think we should have counsel here to answer that question. We'll be able to ask them on Thursday. But I don't think it's legal. Have you done any legal research into it? I mean, can we just suspend parts of our bylaws? I mean, actually, we can. We can take a vote and actually disregard our bylaws.
Well, the point in Robert's rules, and Robert, this is just a general interpretation of them without a specific reference for you. From my perspective, is that Robert's Rules of Order says that each body has the ability and the power to make its own rules as long as they are subservient to things like state law. In other words, so we're not violating
Robert's
law.
rules forward as to support your motion?
I should have.
Well, it's not in there. I've looked.
Well, where it's not in Robert's rules?
It's not in Robert's rules that you can void a motion being brought forth anytime there's a quorum. Basically, it's the protection of the minority. You know, we had work sessions under Zawacki, under Stevens, under Rako.
Not under Rick.
Yeah, it was a little bit under Rako. We had work sessions. We surely had work sessions.
No public participation.
There was public comments at every meeting, right or wrong.
The rules were loosened considerably under Bill, but there was no specific work section here, correct?
But there was public comments
Yes.
at both. At wide open work sessions, we had public comments.
Oh, yeah.
It was always it's in our agenda development. It says there will be public comment. So we're not only
Okay,
suspending.
look, you made your point. Dan, my understanding is that your section number 5 here, suspending, simply sets aside all the formality that has to go on with motions and seconds and all that, and who can stand up and speak and who can't, and that it creates an informality for the entire audience of the meeting.
Well, that's
And not be bogged down, driven, tied up, whatever, by all the procedures that go on. I'm not saying Robert's rules ought to be thrown out the door forever. The idea is to create an inter-exchange between this board and the other people in this room, as well as giving us a chance to just talk to each other.
well, if
You
we
can,
were,
you can do that under Robert's rules. Robert's rules doesn't say you can't open the floor.
well, under Robert's rules, the normal motion would be if we wanted someone to open up the floor and we've done it regularly. is to simply make a motion to set aside the normal rules,
Which is all this is.
okay, which is what this is, and only it's codified. In other words, it's in writing here. But that's what we would do. We'd make a motion to set aside the normal rules of order, let everybody talk, then make a motion to return to the normal rules of order, and that's it. What you're doing is setting aside Robert's rules.
All motions are in writing if you're complying with Robert's rules.
There it is. It's in writing.
Yeah, but you said this would put it in writing. I said all motions are in writing.
3 days in advance.
Yeah, this was 3 days in advance, wasn't it? Another rule broken.
Actually not. This meeting was discussed in public open session numerous days.
On the motion.
This was an emotion? Come on, Tom, go ahead and call the question. Let me guess, 6-1.
I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed?
5-2.
What was the vote?
4-2.
4-2-1. Somebody
Terry
abstained?
didn't vote.
I abstained.
All right, Sharon.
Okay, thank you. Purpose of this work session, as I think we've seen it, is to have open communication on issues that may be coming up, concerns, thoughts that board members have. There is not to be a vote. It's to be a free exchange of ideas. From these ideas, some of these may be motions submitted to the next board meeting. And what we'd like to do is whoever is going to have the floor to discuss their thought or their possible motion or their concern be allowed to go ahead and give their entire presentation without interruption. Now, I have extra paper here, so I'm asking if anybody has a question, write down your question while you're thinking of it at that point. Once the presenter has all of their presentation made, then we'll go around the board here and ask any specific questions that you have. And this is to the topic. And then once that's done, then we'll open it to anybody who's here that would like to ask us a question specific to the topic. This is not to be made to be a major debate or an argument or anything like that. It's just for information so we kind of have a feeling where everybody's coming from.
So if I understand correctly, I can't just raise my hand and ask a question.
Not in the middle of it, that's right, Dave. We will have a time for you though.
So how
First, we're
about-
going to go through the board members.
Are you going through all the board members to talk now?
Yeah.
What we're doing is the presenter. Let's just say I'm making a presentation. When I'm done with my presentation, we'll go around the table with the board members. Once the board members have their opportunity to ask any specific questions to topic that they want, then by all means you may raise your hand, Dave.
Okay, so just to be clear again, if I have a question for the CIP, I wait till it gets to there on the agenda?
Correct,
And,
correct.
well, since I haven't seen any update on the webpage and I haven't seen anything handed out, or...
This is
I'm-
not a voting thing, this is
No,
information.
that has nothing to do with voting.
Yeah.
It simply says update on CIP. And I'm taking it that the form of the update will be something verbal from the general
Everything that
manager.
today is going to be verbal, that's correct. So just sit and listen. And then if you have a question, write it down, and then you'll have an opportunity to ask it.
I think I'll pass on that. I can always catch it on the video.
Sure, whatever you want to do, by all means. Okay?
Dave, thanks.
See you later.
Thank you guys for your service.
See you later.
Great,
Okay.
adios.
Anybody need paper?
Yeah, I want to make one more comment.
Anybody in the audience need paper?
I would really like everybody to give this a chance.
Right.
Okay? Let's give this a chance. We don't know exactly how this is all going to work. We really don't know. But let's give it a chance to see if it can work. So that we can receive information and not get bogged down in 6-hour board meetings. Okay? All right, Sharon, I'll give it to you.
Okay,
On the format, can I ask you? one
yes,
question?
certainly.
Now, I look at this, I would have expected the general manager's report today. Is that still going to happen at the meeting? Instead of here? I mean, when I say the meeting, the regular meeting rather than the work meeting?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, we're not changing the regular meetings. This is just
I thought
informal among us.
I thought this was to lighten the load of the
It
regular meeting.
is hopefully,
Okay.
because let's just say I'm gonna like to talk about something I'm considering for a motion. I'd like to be able to bring it up now to talk among board members and see what your feelings are. Do we have questions? Do I need to do more research?
Got it, okay, I'm just
You
trying to
know, that
understand
type of thing, so that we're all
Okay.
comfortable. It's just a friendly little work session, okay?
Okay,
That's
okay.
what it's trying to be. All right. Now, let me start out, if I may, only so we can kind of try to get the idea of what's going on, and just because we'll get this started, okay? It has come to my attention from the budget, the finance committee, that it would be helpful if we had a 501c3 established. As all of you know, we're a 501c4, but a 501c3 can receive charitable trust and donations that could be tax deductible. The Budget and Finance Committee under Dennis Hudson is willing to set up a function of a 501c3 with a separate board of directors. And it would be things to help the community in some way. For example, maybe we have situations of children that need scholarships to go to camp. The money could come from that. Maybe there's some catastrophic situation with somebody, they need help with their association fee that year, and they can apply for that. Maybe we need somebody is able to make a grant because maybe Choptank Electric for the lighting, and they can write it off as a 501c3, and it would go to our recreation department. So there's, I think, 1,000 different opportunities for this, but what I'm looking for is your thoughts, if you see this as being something to pursue, and if so, I'll be glad to make a motion the next meeting. So things like parks and recreation, day camps, summer camps, educational trips for maybe seniors or children, equipment for maybe our physical fitness facilities that we might need, or even internship grants for the food service. Because we can't get grant money, because we're not a 501c3, we don't have 501c3 set up, it would be helpful if we had one, and it would be separate from this board.
Yeah, Sharon, let me make sure, because I think I've talked to Dennis obviously, but this would be a 501c3 set up totally outside Ocean Pines.
Correct.
This is not an Ocean Pines Association 501c3. There's no control of it. The only thing we as our organization would have to do is vote to be willing to accept the money and guidance as to where the money's supposed to be spent. We would have no control over that 501c3 because otherwise it all gets
As I
mixed
see it,
in.
exactly.
Doesn't
So
work.
if somebody needs assistance in whatever reason it is, or if they have money that is given there,
Use the dog park as an example.
Yeah, that's
They
a good
needed to raise
example.
money to raise a dog park. The 501c3 is there as a vehicle.
And that would have been a tax deductible, though I'm not, tax accountant to that, I think would have been a tax deductible situation. Any other questions around the
Yeah,
board? Yes, Jack?
Why budget and finance? Why the budget and finance committee? Why would they be charged with looking into the possibility? Why not a committee like I don't know, maybe not an ad hoc committee, but a task force outside, since it is an organization outside of Ocean Pines 501 C4.
Excellent.
Why not a committee of the members who could,
Hands off,
yeah, right, and it's arm's length.
that's the way
The
I'm
idea came,
And I saw your arm.
The idea-
Hands off,
came-
arm's length, and it was one of those.
from Dennis Hudson on the Budget and Finance Committee.
So that's
He
why you were
would
saying
have
that.
a
I see.
separate,
I
it was
see.
that was, I was explaining that's where it came from. And he asked me to present it. It does not mean the Budget and Finance Committee would do it. Dennis is the one willing to set it up and get a separate board, not Budget and Finance people. So I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on that.
No, that's okay. But again, if it comes from the membership rather than from the board, I think it has a heck of a lot more strength.
And it should be, right?
Okay. all
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Yes, Martin.
Now, I'm assuming, other than the setup cost, which is relatively nothing.
Right.
There'll be no assessment dollars going into this.
I can't imagine there would be. No, that's a good question. Bill?
And we don't lose our designation. This is something separate. We
This
don't lose our
completely separate entity. That's correct.
And Jack, you said task. They weren't given this.
No, this
task.
is not a
Yeah,
task
this
from
is
the Budget
something
and
that-
Finance,
that
no.
Budget and Finance came up with on their own, and then they brought it forward.
Dan,
So
Dan,
they weren't given that
everybody
task
was
to
talking
look at.
about doing grants. Well, we want to pursue grants. And Dennis agreed that he would like to do that. And beginning that process, realize it's almost impossible to get them unless you're a 501. So that's how it's sprouted.
Okay.
Dan,
I think Jack's comment is pertinent from another direction as well. Setting up a new corporation, regardless of what it is, particularly one that's arm's length from Ocean Pines, but designed to benefit Ocean Pines, takes a lot of homework and a lot of definition. I very much would like to see that homework done, and I would like to see recommendations from our financial advisors, our auditors, and our attorney on that whole situation as well before this board sits down to start considering this. This is not a simple procedure, it's a tough one.
okay, recommendations from whom?
Auditors, attorney,
Yeah, the other side.
pros,
of
what are the pros and
Just those
cons?
two,
What-
that's what you're
what are
asking,
the
okay.
what are the pros and cons of doing this?
that, Sharon, we have to be very careful for them. They are the group over there, that as they set themselves up, if they're only giving money to a 501c4, they've got to be careful as to where they, in writing.
I'm not
up-
sure it's going to 501c4 necessarily. It might be going to private individuals.
Well, it could be. Again,
Yeah.
I'm with Dan. There's a lot to them setting that up,
Okay.
so
Can I-
that.
Can I qualify something here? Dan, to understand, are you saying that we need to get some direction from some professionals before we reach out to the community and start talking about setting up a task force?
I think we need to, yes, I'm saying that I think we need to very clearly define the target that we're aiming at here. What is it that we're really trying to set up? If you understand what I'm saying.
I do,
Are
yeah.
we setting up a charitable organization to provide funds to anybody that they want to, truly arm's length? And if so, I've got some serious questions about whether we ought to be spending our time doing that. But on the other hand, if we're setting up an organization that allows Ocean Pines to do something that it can't do right now as a 501c4 corporation, i.e., as Sharon introduced it, to go out and seek grants and other funds that are out there, then yeah, I think it's interesting, but I need to know, and I think you do too, what the ins and the outs are with setting up those corporations. What should be included? How do you write the corporate charter? What's got to be in there? What are the limits that you have to talk about?
Can I share my picture with you?
Go right ahead.
Okay. You've been here a heck of a lot longer than I have. I've been here since '04, but I came back and forth, since I was a young boy. So there's a lot of expertise in this community. A lot of retired attorneys, a lot of retired accountants, a lot of people who really understand how the world works. And I'm wondering if we are missing a bet by not taking advantage of that. And I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. What you're saying, being a banker, what you're saying makes great sense to me. But my thought process is, let's put together a group of people to investigate this situation with the same concerns and caveats that you have. See if we can get that expertise and bring it forward.
Oh, sure.
That's where I'm coming from. Rather than going to our, current paid expertise and ask their opinion and then go out.
You're right. I was being backwards about that.
No, you're not. No, please
your
don't take
question,
that
no, your
attitude with
question,
me.
your question's on target. Let's set up the pro forma description, but let's then go get some serious professional opinions about it from people who are in the field and
Right.
working today,
Right.
so that we don't stumble and we don't fall into anything.
Perfect. That's the picture I have.
Okay.
Jerry?
I do have a little bit of a concern with that, not that I'm not denying it, that we don't have very talented people here. But my concern is that when you get a group of volunteers together as in their past professions, you run the risk of maybe including their wants, not wants, needs, and desires in that discussion as well, as opposed to when you are employing counsel or an auditor or whatever to make an objective, to give you objective information. That's just something.
Perhaps both need to be done. Is that what you're thinking, Terry?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that you just have to kind of be a little bit careful.
Would everybody think it's reasonable if I went back to Dennis and tell him to see if he can get some more information for the group? That,
Well, I
Along
actually
these two
agree,
lines,
I
talking to
actually
the
agree
legal,
with
yeah.
everybody else that we should really take what Dennis has started and get it away from budget and finance.
oh, it wouldn't be budget and finance. No, it's
No,
not
but
like that.
I mean, just take it, since Dennis is budget, take what they've done, and all the great work that they've done so far, and then maybe get that group of, people in the community together, but to get it away from budget and finance even, I think they've done their piece.
Okay.
I'd be really worried.
I just could say it's apple pie and Chevrolet. Keep going. You can't mess this one up.
I can't hear you. What?
It's apple pie and Chevrolet. You can't goof it up.
Oh, good.
Let's move forward with it. Let's not debate whether we're going to take the guy with the beer or the guy without the beer.
My only comment was to share was to reinforce in your motion that none of the revenues from Ocean Front Association will be used to set this up. Just be very clear about that, but we're clearly in favor of this, obviously, I think. But there's a lot of hurdles to go over, and we're not paying for the lawyers, we're not paying for the accountants. No, I may personally write a check to whoever they put together to help them do that. I
And
mean,
if they
I
get
have
it
a right
done,
to
it'll
do
be
that.
tax deductible.
I have a right to do that.
If they
Any more
don't,
questions around the table?
when
around the
you-
table
when
first?
you deduct, just let mine.
Okay, Joe has a question.
Yeah, from what I've heard said, it appears that the Budget and Finance Committee is looking into grants initially for Ocean Ponds. And what they discovered was that HOAs, as private-owned entities, corporations, are not eligible for a lot of these. But there is apparently a lot of money out there that you can get if you are a charity, to give money away for some needy purpose, whatever it's okay for. In my mind, the Budget and Finance Committee has come back with a non-answer. I believe that this board of directors should stay away from this as far as you can get, because essentially what you're talking about is setting up a charitable program where, even though it may be independent, we're going to have people appointed to a separate board of directors, however it's set up, money's going to come from someplace, people in this community. And this board is going to sit around, and Sam Smith comes in and says, oh my God, my mother-in-law died, I can't pay my assessment this year, can you help me out?
Joe, are you thinking that this board here will make the decision?
No.
We do not make
No,
those decisions.
but I'm wondering why this board even wants to get involved with this. If people in the community want to do it, let them go do it. I don't know why this board has to get involved in it, or our Budget and Finance Committee. If Dennis Hudson wants to do it, let him go get some people and get some money and set it up. It doesn't require this board. That's my only point. I think we have enough to do without
Here's
this.
a learning procedurally. Do we want to have interviews?
I don't want, why not?
Why not?
Why not? This is informal.
Joe, my reaction to that, mine would be that we would say to whoever's setting that group up, we as a board of directors would make a statement to them, look, we would not suggest you write that into your mission statement at all. That you ought to be about dog parks and skate parks and things like that you want to see happen, and that kind of thing, not dues and that it's just my reaction to what you're saying. I don't want.
But that's not what Sharon suggested when she's talked. She
Well,
talked
it was an
about getting
example.
money
I'm
to
giving
send people
examples,
to
Joe.
What's
I
an
don't
example?
know. We don't have it down in concrete. This
not all
is just a
written up.
conceptual thing. Because we are not able to get a lot of grants, because we're not a 501c3. It's a missing link for us to get benefits.
501c3 is charity.
Correct.
So the missing link is not going to give money back to OPA. It's going to give money to people.
It could come back to OPA. Maybe it's going to be set for recreation.
That's called
We don't have what we have.
There are golf tournaments. There are today. I think didn't you just involve in a golf
Yes.
tournament? Gave us $4,000. Gave us
They gave us $4,000.
But it could be a fundraiser for the lights at the ballpark. Some of the budget's straining to be able to afford that. Charlie Brown and his friends could go out and raise the money,
This will be better.
tax deductible.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
check on this.
Chip, I'm sorry.
A couple points. First off, the dog park was mentioned. That was not a 501c3.
Yeah.
No.
That was not set up. I didn't know if that was.
No.
Sharon, you were involved, I think just a little bit in the memorial that's out front.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And that certainly falls into this falls into that type of
Yeah.
situation. We also have the example of the Friends of the Ocean Pines Library that raises funds, considerable amount of funds, and donates and makes purchases on behalf of the library for things that they can't afford. It might be an opportunity to talk with whoever's running that and see how they go about doing it. But Sharon, if I understood correctly, you were using the lights. So if there was a group of people that raised money for the lights, if they could purchase the lights and then Ocean Pines would just take them over, Ocean Pines wouldn't be paying for them. It would be a donation to the community from this Friends of Ocean Pines group or whatever it's
It
called.
could
Is that-
possibly be.
Okay.
Or it could be a state grant, recreation grant, or a
Absolutely.
county grant that they can't give us.
But they
They
give
can
to
give
a
it to the Friends of Ocean
Five-
Pines,
right.
50, whatever. it is.
501c.
Bill,
As the liaison to the Budget Finance Committee, they are not looking at this. This is Dennis doing this. So it's not as if that's going to be them bringing that to us.
Okay.
He's
Just an
taking,
individual
right,
person.
he's taking that on
The
him.
board is even talking.
You're right, I totally agree with you, but she just, Sharon is just bringing it out, something that they're looking at.
is there
But they're,
anybody
but
else
they're
in
not,
the room that has
they're
a
not
question?
working on it. They're,
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to backtrack a little bit. I want to thank you for opening the meeting to everybody at any time during the meeting. I think that's an excellent idea. But I think Marty wanted to preserve the idea that what if I have a topic that's not being discussed that day as a member of the community? Where do I have the opportunity to
You go
bring
at the
that
general
up?
meeting. This is the work session, 2 topics. At the general meeting, you always have a right to come up and give your comments. That is not removed. The next general meeting's next week, isn't it? Yeah. So you will definitely have that.
I
This is a
would
work
suggest
session.
you just include both. Open it while the meeting is taking place and have a public
We're
comment
trying to keep
at
this
the end
meeting
of
to
it.
1 hour. I'm not sure we're going to be making it. But we're trying to do that, okay?
And if I could clarify that, the HOA Act says that all regular board meetings, public comments may be limited to the topics under discussion. The Act only requires 1 meeting per year where association members can address any subject. So the board has every right to limit public comments to whatever the topics are at the meeting, if you read the act.
All right, any other questions on this topic from anybody? Okay, let's move on. Because we're trying to keep this to 1 hour. Don't know if it's going to work.
Kristen,
You're
Okay.
going to have to talk fast.
We're learning.
Update,
Kristen,
well, we had a lot of discussion at the beginning. Update of the yacht club, Mr. Thompson.
Well, is there anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion-wise?
I jumped the topic.
Sorry, but
Yes.
not that I've ever done that.
Okay.
It's a format question again. It won't come to a motion, I'm sure. But we're due for a quarterly financial report. That will happen the regular general manager meeting, general manager report at the next meeting, right?
The general meetings have not been adjusted because of these work sessions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my second question is, at what point can we get up to speed on Chesapeake's franchise?
I'm gonna do that today.
We are?
I'm gonna do that today.
I didn't see that.
Well, I just, again,
This is very informal, the thing, because we weren't sure
Cool,
what
cool.
to talk about,
Then in
okay?
that case, I have nothing to add.
So on the other motions or possible discussions from anybody on the table?
yes.
Yes,
We
Bill?
will have a formal motion at the next meeting. The Budget and Finance Committee is putting it to us to take over the lead on the municipality study. And the motion will be to send a formal request to the county commissioners in the form of a letter to see what their response is, whether they agree with us going forward or not. Because if just one of them says no, then we're out of that business of going towards municipality. So we just want to send them a formal letter to get their feedback. Do we waste any more time on this, or don't we?
Jack, go ahead.
Who's us? Who are we talking about?
The board is
So,
sending a letter to the
Wait a minute, the
county
Budget and
commissioners.
Finance Committee is doing an introspection into the possibility of a municipality within this environment. And they can just say, oh, we're going to drop it now and bump it up to the board, and the board's got to make a decision?
Yes.
They can do that? Okay, all right.
Dan?
That's a learning moment.
It's your first inning, Jack. Before we, have you thought about the idea of asking the Budget and Finance Committee for at least a broad strokes description of the benefits or reasons why they think we should be going to the county commissioners with this? Or are we going to get a rationale with this motion?
No, they have not been able to get anything as far as what it's going to cost us or anything. The next step would be going to professionals and paying professionals to do a study on what the benefits, the pros and cons of it. And they certainly can't do that. That would have to be a decision that the board would make. Before we get into any of that, and they wanted to actually take that, go that far. But my suggestion is, why spend any money or even contemplate spending money when I don't want to waste money. So let's go with the simple motion of, are the commissioners going to shut us down from the beginning? Because if they are, then why waste money? I'm not in the business of wasting money.
We're seeing if that motion will pass this board.
The motion to send a formal letter to the commissioners.
Thank you.
It may or may not.
And the letter is coming from us as a board.
That's their
And the
proposal.
letter is coming from us as a board.
Okay.
And we're going to vote on the motion without any substantiating information.
Yeah, if I'm a county commissioner and I get a letter from one of the largest jurisdictions in the county, and it says, we want your opinion as to whether or not we should be a municipality, I'm scratching my head and I'm saying, what are these people doing?
No, we're not asking their opinion.
Yeah.
We're asking whether they're going to support it or shut us
Whether
down.
they're going to support it or shut it down.
Right.
I don't understand.
Again,
What are we doing?
Without
Again.
any substantiating
What are we doing?
Jeff, I was at the meeting. I attended the 3-hour session on the municipality thing that Bill was
I
at.
did too. I was
And
there. I
if you
heard all that
remember-
stuff.
If you remember, the comments were, you have to have your county commissioner's approval before any municipality will be granted. So it's got to come from the county commissioner. If they're not willing to even talk about it, there is no sense for us to go further with it. So that's the question. Now, do we spend the money to have a study done? And Bill's comment is, if they spend the money to do a study, then why do we go through all that? The county's going to say, heck no, we're not in favor of that. So that's what they're trying to do. That's all. Go ahead.
What Bill and I see you doing is your job as a liaison. Your
Right.
advisory group is coming to you with something they want to propose to do. It's landed here so we could have a general discussion about what is all this and what other information might we want to have so that you can go back and say to them, hey, just dumping this on the table, we're going to get it. We're going to have some background here information, what are the laws, why is it that you believe we're at that, just the who, what, why, that kind of thing. The normal format of any motion has its background and its impact and what the motion is. So that's what I hear you're doing, is basically your job as a liaison.
Marty? Oh, I'm sorry. Is it Terry?
Well, he was first.
One simple, if we voted to send this letter to the commissioners, that vote is not going to be a vote that we agree with this plan, is it?
No.
Because there is no plan.
No.
There is
I can agree to ask
Right.
anybody anything, but I can't agree to ask them and then say, oh, okay, you're all
Right.
for it. let's
Right.
do it.
Then after that, if they would say, if the two of them would say yes, then we would have to decide
Two.
whether yeah.
We only need the two?
Two of whom?
There are 7?
7 county commissioners.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they
but
need
not
5.
for-
They need 5.
I
or
don't
4.
think
They
so.
need
I
4.
think it's just Boggs and Bunting.
Huh?
I think the letter is just going to Boggs and Bunting, and then we would have to go to the 7 after that.
You need to send them a letter.
Wait a minute.
All right, so wait, Bill, okay, we're going to have to get that clarified. So I guess and Terry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to, because I think that this purpose of this discussion has just validated itself. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't even bring that motion to vote
Right.
next week because it's not, I wouldn't vote for it because I don't have, and I sat in most of those meetings. So, I wouldn't.
I am
vote
just
for it
bringing
because
forward the
there's
letter.
no- Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you're
no,
just
no,
doing
no,
your
no,
job.
I
My job.
understand
Yeah,
that,
you're just doing your
understand that,
job.
But what
We
I'm
know that.
saying
We
to
know.
you is,
Well, we're
as
gonna
per
beat you up
this-
anyway.
As,
It's fine.
as per this discussion, I myself, if you brought that forward, I would vote no. Because there won't be any information, it just doesn't seem like it's quite ready for this step yet.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have any comments? Joe?
Terry, I agree with you 100%.
Geez, it was.
It doesn't happen too often. Write that down.
Write this
Take a
down.
vote on that one.
It's on tape, we're good.
Let me explain something here in case, and I think probably most members of the board don't know. If you're going to go, anybody can create a municipality. This board of directors is not required to create them. I can decide. Tom Stouts can decide. All I've got to do is go out and get a percentage of signatures on a petition, draw a line around any place I want, and if I have enough signatures, 10%, 20% in the vote, only registered voters, not association members, registered voters, I then take that down to the county. And the county, under Maryland law, must have an election in the area I drew the line around that I'm on a municipality. Then there's a special election, and again, only registered voters in the area for municipality can vote. So the 50% of the people who don't live here full-time, they don't get a vote.
We're
No vote.
We're
Now,
aware of that.
let me finish. If it passes, and you can draw the line anywhere, you can include River Run, you can include Riddle Farms, you can include Walmart if you want to get taxable base. But if you just draw it around Ocean Pines, fine. Wherever you draw, you can draw it anywhere you want. Even if it's approved in the election under Maryland law, last time I wrote it, the county commissioners can override the results of the election. So they can say no, even though the people vote yes. Now, as far as sending this letter goes, look, if the county commissioners give you any response, it's going to be, even if you sent them the letter, they're not going to say, yeah, I approve this. I mean, that's political suicide. They don't even know who's in favor and who isn't. But the only response you're going to get is, get the signatures, send it in for a vote. If the vote comes back positive, then we'll vote and give you our answer. What you're proposing, or what the committee's proposing, is a complete waste of time. It's a waste of time, in my
Thank you,
opinion.
Joe. Anybody else have comments? Marty?
An incorporated municipality can be set up, non-residents can vote. Property owners can vote in a incorporated municipality, if that's the way the rules are written for the incorporated municipality.
If you say so, more.
Okay.
Bethany
Talk
Beach
to
non
people
property.
who-
All right, and then anybody else have another thing they want to bring up?
I gotta mention this.
Yes.
Liaisons. I'm liaison now to the
The
environmental.
liaison reports are, can we hold it to the liaison section?
Sure, as long as I can get.
Yeah, you'll definitely get it in. Dan?
Okay, I will be bringing one motion into the board at the next meeting with respect to M-09, which, for those of you who weren't on the board when it happened, is a new resolution regarding recruiting of candidates for running for office for Ocean Pines. That has never been codified before, and normally the processing for resolutions is to send it to bylaws, our bylaws advisory committee, have them make comments on it, adjust it here and there, and then bring it back to the board for a first reading. We have done that. However, the comments were such that, and the discussion in the bylaws committee significant enough, that instead of coming back for a second reading and a vote to approve, this will be a repeat of the first reading, so that we have a minimum of 30 days to think about it, ask questions, and otherwise discuss it. I just wanted to
Could you
put
give
that out there.
that out to us again? Because we do have to.
Yeah,
you've
I
got
will,
more
I will,
members, okay.
what you will get will be a copy of the revised M09 with the revisions clearly marked.
Okay, good.
Okay, the comments from the committee and the comments from board members who have made comments on it.
Comments I said will be
Yeah,
in there.
right, exactly. There will be three documents in the package.
Thank you. Is there anybody else at the table, anything else they want to bring up?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
Just, I'm not sure what the answer is going to be here, but we have a situation in the, in the Harkin contract, as you know, we named someone to represent us as being our interface with them. And it happens to be John Thompson.
You don't have it. You don't have MO9. It's not in your. It's not.
No, it's
Excuse
new,
me, we're
Jack.
gonna get
It's new.
Jack,
It's new.
we're gonna get new.
This is a new resolution.
Oh, I
It
thought
doesn't
you said. I
exist.
thought you said it was.
It has been drafted and
Oh,
it's
okay.
gone around for,
Okay.
but it needs to come back around
You're
again.
gonna
I
get
got
a
it.
copy,
I
Jack.
got it.
He's
I got
sent
it.
to you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Tom, go
No, it's
ahead.
okay. No, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands. We have a situation where we have an authorized person to manage our contract with Harkin. We have change order numbers, though, that are above the approval limit that Bob has, and I can't sign for anything unless the board of directors authorizes me to do it. So I don't have signature authority for $1, let alone 15,000. So at the next meeting between now and then, I'm going to be contacting various people to see if I can figure out what the process, what process should we use to address that situation of change orders and approvals and just how we put that together. It's been done many different ways. I just wanted the board to know that I'm going to be reaching out to everybody to see what their thoughts are about it. How we manage that particular process, because I am not a builder. I'm not signing anything until I'm authorized to do so. So just let everybody know.
The change order number one, which was $888,885.
That was the pool.
Yeah, but that's change order number one. We haven't had a change order 2 or 3 as of yet.
Well, we have them. They're sitting there waiting to be. Some of them have been worked. Some of them have to be approved. We've got a signature thing at the approval limit. That's the issue.
Well, in the past, they've come to the board. I mean, certainly you don't change the toilet 2 feet to the left for $20.
I have a dilemma, Marty. That they're building this. You're a builder, and they're building. Well, you were, and you were a good one. But they're building this building. Okay, we're not dealing with a consumer. You're not building a house for me, so you can pick up the telephone and call me and say, "Hey, Jack, you know that tile that you ordered, it's gone up in price," and or no, that's a bad example. Let's say you find a problem in clearing the land, and you've got to dig a little bit deeper, and you've got to put your footings down a little bit further because of the nature of the land. All right, and in order to do that, you'll do it under contract, but you need a change order because there are certain things that you have to do that were not in the original contract. Okay, so I agree. You go ahead and do it. We get the house built. If they're
Not
building
without a signed change order.
with a signed change order, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But you're dealing,
Right.
but you're dealing with me, and I get a sign. Okay, now they're building a yacht club over there, and the yacht club they're trying to move it forward. They're trying to get it done, et cetera, et cetera. What kind of procedure can we put in place to answer the kinds of things that are going to come up from time to time, whereby a problem is discovered, a change order is necessary, a special meeting, a telephone call? How are we going to affect that?
You just answered your own question.
I didn't.
Special
I'm
meeting,
really-
telephone call. Look, change orders are something that you don't want to see ever. Always, you know what definition of a change order is? Poor planning.
Well,
Okay.
or an
Yes,
incentive.
sir.
No, I won't agree with that, Marty, and I've done a lot of
Not
construction too.
necessarily.
I do not agree with that
That's
statement.
not true.
It's poor planning.
No, it's not.
No,
It is.
No, it is not.
You discovered something you didn't know.
not necessarily. You may have decided you want to make a change for whatever reason it
You may have
is.
decided you want to do
Well, that-
tile
okay.
instead of vinyl.
All right.
That's a change order.
Tom
That's
has
bad
a
planning.
Let's stop
I
this,
simply
please.
wanted to bring to the group that I'm going to be working on that issue because I know we need to address it, and I don't want to debate it here. I'm going to talk
Okay.
to everybody, okay?
I believe it's got to pretty much be a motion and
And eventually will be. I've got to work through the process of what we come up with.
I mean, we didn't. I don't believe anybody's been appointed to sign change orders in giant amounts. I just don't
No,
know.
they haven't.
That's why, that's the problem.
That's,
It's not a problem. That's a great fail-safe spot.
and I agree with Phil said.
Dan?
Tom, I think that it's important to deal with another part of that question. the implication is that the project is not being very carefully and very thoroughly managed at this point in time. And I believe it is, and I think you should maybe include that in your comment because.
Yeah, I'm not bringing this up because there's any big, huge issue out there. It's just a procedural thing we've got to fix. It came up when a change order was put in front of me, and I'm not authorized to sign it. Well, okay, we got to fix this. And then what other processes, and we'll get it fixed. That's all I want to do is just bring it up to the board, that I'm aware of the situation. Bob's aware of the situation, and we're going to work it. And like Jack said, you got to keep this thing moving, but within guidelines and some restraint that has to be there.
And it's great, and we're talking about it, but if there's gonna be a change order at the 18th meeting, can we get it before the 18th meeting? Because you obviously know it's there. I'd like to see it tomorrow so I can start analyzing and understanding why it's there. So that when we go to a meeting on the 18th, it's not a 4-hour meeting while we debate it. We can ask questions about it and we know about it. But you're telling me there's a change order. I suspect it has something to do with pilings, since I've noticed that they went from putting a few pilings in for footers to a piling foundation. That's going to drive a change order. My guess is it's going to be a big one. I'd like to see it before the meeting. And if it's laying around on the desk somewhere, I have as much right to see it as anybody else. Can we have copies of that before the meeting? Sure.
And and the curious thing I have, Tom, is it's a timing thing. I mean, what's the lead time on this? I mean, Harkins just doesn't, say, oh, we discovered we have a problem here. Ergo, it's outside contract. We need a change order. They have to be communicating with somebody. That somebody has to be communicating with somebody. And if we're charged with the responsibility, because we have a fiduciary responsibility to everybody in this room, and I take it very seriously, so that if somebody is spending money and somebody comes up to me in the street and says, what in the heaven's name are you doing with spending this kind of money? We need to figure out some way to make this as efficient and as timely as possible.
I'm pretty sure that's what I just said. I'm working.
That's what he's trying to
Are
work
you
on.
sure?
But for the record,
But-
I did not know there was a change order too until this
There's
was.
3 actually.
There's 3. actually.
Okay. All right.
This is news, right? And people talk and
Why do you think I brought it up?
Okay.
This is
We're-
meant
we-
this discussion for,
we
calm
are-
discussion.
we are on your side, Tom.
Can we get copies of that before we leave today?
Of the change order.
That's what I looked at. I was looking to the general manager, who, how I know to look at that. Can we get copies of those before we leave today?
Possibly, yes.
Possibly. Okay, cool.
Anybody else around the table with a question? Okay, and back here, I feel like my back's to some of you people, I'm sorry. All right, Joe's the only other question again. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you. Something's being overlooked here. Maybe I'm not too smart. I think I've heard the number of $50,000 for pilings, but I don't know if it's less or more or whatever it is. I've heard it's substantial, whatever that's supposed to mean. Who told Harkins to go do the work? Because it's done or about to be done. You guys are
Joe,
sitting around
what's the
discussing.
question here? I just want to know the question, because
The
this is
question
a question
is-
to topic, not a,
Would you let me finish, please?
that's why I'm asking the question, please.
Who authorized Harkins to start the work? Who?
Want me to answer?
Yeah.
I did.
Why? Without the board of directors?
Well, that's why we're talking about it now.
Oh,
because
whoa,
I'm not-
whoa,
I'm-
whoa.
Look, hang on. If you're going to ask a question, expect an answer. Don't be rude and interrupt. I did, and my reasoning behind it was, that's why I went to Tom and said, Tom, I'm not comfortable making these decisions until we have a process that allows us to do it. That's why we're having the discussion now. I have a report that I'm going to give to the board and show you where the change orders are now, so we can discuss how we should be proceeding. That's what we're doing.
Thomas.
Doing it after the
Who's Thomas?
St. Thomas.
Don't look
Give
Joe.
me, give me grace. Now, okay. Bob, as general manager, you're saying that we have a contractor who has a contract. He comes to you and says to you, we need to put in $50,000 or whatever of pilings, and that's going to cost us more money. and gives you a change order for that amount. So rather at that point, and coming to the board of directors and saying, gee, you guys need to vote on this. You make a personal decision to tell Harkins, go do the work.
Joe, where's
And
the
then
question?
I'll figure out how to deal with the board of directors. Now, if this isn't pass backwards, I don't know what is. And for you to sit there and try to defend that kind of action is incredible in my mind.
Joe,
Well,
this is a discussion meeting. What we're doing here is asking questions, and this is not something for you to make a comment about his behavior or my behavior or anybody's. I appreciate your comments, but if you have a question, please ask a specific question.
Oh, it can only
If
be a
not,
question and
that's
not a comment?
A question to topic, that's
The
what
one
it
that said
is.
so.
Thank you,
Thank
GM Defender.
That was uncalled for.
You're right.
All right, any other things that are gonna come up? I'm sorry, Tom.
This
That's
is a
what it
question.
needs to be.
Thank you, Tom.
Good thing.
With 3 change orders, sort of somewhere in the pipeline, has there been any measurable delays in the construction timetable because of these?
Can we wait until Bob gets his report?
We got the data plot Black Club next. That's okay.
Is that okay, Tom? We're gonna wait for his
He's
report.
gonna give a
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
report.
sure.
He's
I mean,
probably,
I'll-
he's
yeah.
probably
Yes.
gonna answer your question.
Sure.
Yes.
I just need to ask one question. Okay, so everybody's gone around the table and they're saying what their motions are gonna be next week. Everybody's still going to send them to me, correct?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
Mr.
there's-
Secretary. Just
Here comes one now.
As soon as the secretary sends out a notice of call for,
And she will be doing that.
as soon as I get it, you got it.
I was kind of waiting till this
Okay,
was
yeah.
over.
Good, okay.
Sure, my other 2 things aren't motions, but they are updates. What do you want me to do these updates? And I can tell you about
They're not liaison things, right?
No.
They're updates, go ahead, give us your updates.
Sandpiper. We have interviewed one lawyer. We have another interview tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I have received a draft contract language from Sandpiper. We have that in their hands. We have it to look at. Begun looking at it. I've studied it thoroughly, obviously. We haven't selected the lawyer, but hopefully by late tomorrow afternoon we will have done that. We've had an extensive discussion with one, and I had probably a 20-minute discussion with the gentleman I'm interviewing tomorrow. Both of them have the time to work this in the time frame that we need. So the update is Marty probably by, again, I guess my question is at that point, and this is not something we're going to vote on. Dan and myself, along with Bob, were going to do these interviews. I'm making an assumption that this group is okay, that we pick the one to get on with it. Is that copacetic with people? Do we make the
Is
decision?
it the 2 I know that I think of?
One of them you knew can't do it.
Really?
Conflict.
Isn't that the Ocean City one?
Yeah, conflict. Yeah.
The one that was Eastern Shore Gas.
Mhm.
So who are the 2 then? Before I give you my blessing. I know law. And the other-
Tomorrow, well, we're talking to, it'd be more appropriate to say who we've interviewed at this point. But, yeah, we're going to interview Steve Smethurst tomorrow at 3 o'clock,
Great guy.
who was recommended by the gentleman in Ocean City,
And me.
and you, correct, who's on your list.
See, I don't have a problem with it.
And he's, is that?
Lots, yeah.
Yeah. Victor Laws.
Either one of those are fine.
So, be one of those 2. That's the update on that. And the other thing, just an update from a conversation I've had with Jack. This is somewhat liaison. Jack and I have talked about getting attendance at the county meetings. And Jack's going to take the charge of leading that as to either getting himself or myself or somebody from this table down at the county meetings so that we have a presence to hear what's going on down there.
It's a good
So,
idea.
Jack, thanks for volunteering to help lead that up. And
Right.
pull that forward.
Just as a quick scheduling question that goes along with that, they're still meeting every other Tuesday?
I'm
They're
gonna-
on
I'm gonna meet-
Tuesdays, their meetings are Tuesdays.
My game plan is to meet with Jim Bunning, get on his schedule, find out what the schedules are. There are 2 meetings that are held each month. And I think they have a private meeting. Though, they've got bylaws and stuff like that they have to contend with also.
Well, then
So I'm gonna, let me get some background from Jim and I can get back to you on that.
Right? I mean,
Ray Unger. He has every right to attend those meetings.
but, I mean, as a member and as a member in good standing and as someone who can bring forth information to us as well and who is recognized by.
Yeah, I say, I don't have any problem with
Well,
us
He could- I
accessing.
think
my
that he could be helpful to the
Well,
town.
exactly, I have no problem with
So-
that, yeah.
In light of the questions recently about.
Ray Unger goes to a lot of those meetings.
Yeah, he does,
So
so.
if you find yourself
Yeah, Jackie would be a
scheduling
good
conflict,
Person to
you
help.
get Ray to.
Or you can go down with me, I don't care, I'll drive
Yeah.
down.
He'd be great.
Yeah, I'll drive
I just
down.
want everybody to know we, Jack and I are working on that, so we continue this linkage to the county.
Are there any more items among the members of the table?
Not for me.
Okay, Mr. Thompson, you're up.
Well, we're over the hour limit.
I know.
See you later.
Let's please do the yacht club update.
No, I'm serious. The mumble is
That's
a meeting
true.
for an hour, the
That's
meeting's
right,
over
an
at the
hour
end of the hour.
All right, quick, yeah, I'm very good at trying to go quick, so we don't hold it up real long. Phase one, the yacht club project, this is the update that I was asked to give. All work's complete, full operational. It became operational from August 8th to 8 September, so we ended up with 30 days on it. Pool was winterized yesterday. Pool cover, or between yesterday and today, and the pool cover will be installed tomorrow. So that's what's going on with the pool.
Go ahead, I know you're gonna ask the same
Jack?
question, go ahead.
Yes, let him give his
Oh, go
report.
ahead and finish it.
He
Yeah,
gives his
that
report,
makes
and then we
sense.
ask questions.
Makes
okay?
sense, makes
Thank
sense.
you.
Okay, the second part is phase two, and that's the new building. Notice it's listed with part one on there. Demo permit was issued on 5th of September. Submission of the building permit with details, but were also submitted to the county at that time. Permit was signed and delivered this morning to build the shell and put the utilities in the slab. That should be issued by 16 September. Original foundation design consisting of building footers was scheduled to be complete in end of June. However, due to the soil content, they had to revise their plan, which included the pilings with pile caps and grade beams. So what they did was delay the project because what they had to do was redesign it. They found the soil content underneath wasn't conducive to the footer design. So they decided pilings was the alternative. They worked close with the county on that, submitted those. Hatch should be poured towards the end of this month. But what it does is put the project approximately 54 days behind schedule due to that changing of the pilings. And again, there was a combination of things I went through on that. Now, the contractor feels they can cut that approximately in half once they get the building framed up, because inside work, so there shouldn't be any further delays on that. Now, to the question about change orders, and that's why we've had them right here for everyone to see. Change order one was the pool, 888-887. Change order two occurred with the moving of the fuel tanks. When they went to move those, the cradles underneath were all rusted out and failing. Some of the additional piping had to be brought up to current code. So there's the change order. The second one, the building foundation with the piling changes. So total cost to date with the changes are well within the contingency that was built into the contract.
I do have to interrupt you.
Excuse me,
It's a girl.
Now
we can go home.
Thank you, that's
Thank
wonderful.
God.
Okay.
We need to know her name. I bet you, is it Marty? They're gonna call her Marty. Her name,
Marsha.
Marty.
Marsha.
What are they gonna call you in the ambulance?
Okay, Bob, I'm
All
sorry.
right, no, that was a good, that's a good interruption. No, that's
Speaking
it.
of change
That's
orders.
it. Quick.
Okay.
That's what I have for an update.
Any questions for Bob? Dan?
Yeah, Yeah, one right up front, under the third item that you talked about, change order number 1, yacht club pool and decking at 888,887. The board approved that. Is that the number the board approved, or was there a difference between
That's the
what
number.
we approved and what the number was?
That's the number we approved.
Is it?
I take it, Marty, I'm trying to think
It
what
is.
the exact
That's
number.
I know it was
800
something. I just didn't know.
Okay.
So we're on. Sorry, we hit that number.
Just for the record, that is one, because it was the exact same number that we had passed and given me the authority to sign the contract.
Oh no, yeah,
I did sign that change order. That one didn't sign because the board already approved the contract.
you were authorized to do that.
I was authorized to do that. The others I have not been, obviously.
Marty?
I have put one comment, that's 25% of the budget after the 888. Just, we have, anyways, the pool cover. And the other day, this is way late, but something I noticed. The Mumford Landing pool, when they start tearing down that building, are we gonna have a problem with dust, debris? You don't think?
No, they didn't think that, it was far enough away, they didn't think that was gonna be a problem. The
Should
other
we be
pool's right there.
considering covers for that pool?
I think the discussion from the aquatics committee, which I'm the liaison for, is that as they redid the pools, we would order a pool cover for them. And of course, number 1 was the yacht club, this being our newest club pool. I don't remember what the order was of the others, Marty.
Well, I knew for the aquatic one,
Yeah.
the debris would have definitely hurt the
Yeah.
equipment. Okay.
And we also, and to help a little bit there, if you recall, we need to do some work over at that pool anyway.
Yeah.
With the baby pool, we have to do the zero entry, and on that corner, of the water side has that sagging corner, so we're intending to address both of those through the winter.
So I guess what I'm saying, can we all think about maybe a cover for that pool in the near future?
It's definitely on the list of the aquatics. Thank you. You're absolutely right on that. Any other questions along the table? Okay, anybody in the, Tom?
Yeah, do you have the numbers on the fuel tank change order and the
47,404,
and also the building foundation?
62,684.
60 cents.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not
Could
sure if
you
it's
just repeat that
or not,
again?
But I'm curious about the movement of the yacht club's facilities for the winter to the Turning Brook facilities.
That is not the topic, sir.
Okay.
But
When will that
thank
be
you.
discussed?
At the annual meeting.
Probably the next meeting, I would imagine it would be there, and if not, you certainly have a right to come up and ask, discuss that. Okay.
We are actually, if you recall, that is a topic for next
Yeah.
week's meeting,
Yeah.
because you asked me for information on that.
But it's not as informal, I don't know how many meetings you've been to, so I apologize. Okay, it's not as informal as this one is, so if we're discussing something, you're not allowed to ask questions, but you can make public comment afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, any liaison reports? Bob?
Go ahead.
Bill?
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Marty, go ahead first. He
This is
relinquished it.
really scattered because I've
Yeah.
never been to a meeting, didn't even know I was appointed to the 29th Committee, environmental and natural assets. There is a group which you've talked to, I believe, and now they've contacted me about these islands in front of Osprey Point.
I have not talked to their president sent me an email
So I was
trying to connect.
I got the
I'm
link.
actually going to talk to that under the Marine Advisories Committee.
All I'm looking for is that I think between now and the 18th, there is a meeting in Cambridge, I'm
October
told.
10th.
Yes, thank you.
October 10th.
And we need to give them our blessing in order for them to have our blessing.
Bill?
Okay, I'll start with the budget and finance people. I'm going to be getting several more letters. One on the investment guidelines. They're in the process now. They have drafts going around. So we will be going over that. Their big thing is the CDARs and funds that are over 2 years are losing money when you compare it to inflation. Let's see. The budget guidance. The budget guidance is the date for the budget. We are supposed to meet with the Budget Finance Committee for budget guidances with them. Speaking to Mr. Terry today, we will probably add that on to the October 2nd meeting and work session, and
Which probably means we'll move the meeting over there or to the country club.
right, and that'll certainly lengthen our work session because that'll be quite lengthy with them. Okay, and then I spoke about the motion before. Marine Advisories Committee, the White Horse Park ramp. They want to make sure that that's in the budget for the 2014. Some work that needs to be done there. So the White Horse Park
A
ramp.
lot.
Bob left, but the signage at the Mumford's Landing for off-season trailer parking. I think Bob is aware of that and is working with them to get that taken care of so that trailers are allowed to park on that lot in off-season. There's not enough room when the pool's open.
Temporarily.
Yeah, right. The islands across from the Pines Point. They've actually sent a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers. Ocean City's going to be doing some dredging over their side, and they're looking for places to dump their dredging. Now, this would include putting riprap on the side of the island to prevent over-silting into our channel going into the yacht club. But they don't believe that any of that money will come from Ocean Pines. That would all come from the government money by, giving it. So they're just trying to preserve the islands and actually fill in to make it a bigger island because those islands are eroding and going to go away.
What do you mean government money? I don't understand what you mean, Bill.
Well, the money.
And maybe you don't know. I don't know.
Well,
Are we talking about EPA has some sort of monies that they?
yeah, you're right. I don't know. They were talking about the Army Corps of Engineers, and Mr. Maynard was here, but so he would know more than me. But Army Corps of Engineers, and just not us putting out money.
Right.
Whoever
There's
they want to get rid of their
Three government
dredgings.
agencies involved.
Right.
At least three.
Well, got to be the Corps.
The
number
Corps,
one.
Natural what is it
DNR.
called?
Well, that's Maryland.
Yeah, they're all involved. They've got to get.
Well, if
those dredged
DNR's
soil
involved, then MDE's involved.
Yes,
Maryland
indeed they
Department
are.
of the Environment's involved. That's
Absolutely.
three.
Right.
there may be
And
four,
you got the EP. Okay, yeah, I'm sure the EPA's involved.
Right.
Concern that I have, when you get those monies, often there's strings attached.
Oh, I don't think it would be money.
There's no money.
No, there's no money.
We're
they're
just
they're
taking
just
their
bringing
spoil.
materials, taking their materials.
Oh, I see.
And they're gonna,
I got you. Like you did the replenishment on the beach.
yes, they're just getting free dirt.
Got it. Okay.
And being allowed to restore those islands. Right now, if you and I go out with a shovel, they'll put handcuffs on us.
Right.
These
That's
guys
right,
will
that's
come in and refill all that, and there's a lot of protection generated by those little islands.
Dan, you had a question?
Nope.
Anybody else? Okay, Tom, I'm sorry, Tom.
Bill, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but one of the issues, and Marty, you saw the emails going back and forth. Do we know for a fact that we own those islands?
Yes.
We do? Okay. For a fact, we know we own them.
Yes.
Okay. And we're good to be able to possibly participate.
I've only been told it's in the turnover agreement from us.
That's what they said.
That's
but
what
I
I've
haven't-
not seen.
that's what I
haven't had
heard
eyes
that
on it.
too.
Well, yeah, I was the liaison before Bill picked it up, and this group has done the research. They have the documentation. They belong to us.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, two other things. They are looking at kayak access on Secret's lot because kayaking and paddleboarding and all that is becoming big. They want to know that just starting to look into the possibility of apparently there's a pier back there, but it's not able to be used by so they're looking into that and wanted to know if the contract with Secrets had adverse possession. Means they put the building on there. You were able to
Secrets
speak to
only
that.
has on that property a parking lot and a very slight, what would you call it, encumbrance, encroachment.
Well, because they said that they put the building on there.
No. The building's on Atkins. They bought that. That's their property. We have a very slant, not easy for you to say,
Just
slim
Washington
slice
can't
of
do anything
land
with
that
it.
goes from the road back. There's 34 parking spaces that is leased to Secrets. And there's not much you can do with the rest of it, but you can launch kayaks.
Bill, any other report?
Yes. Bulkhead maintenance. They would like to be involved with when we are replacing any new bulkheads, and they're saying that any new bulkhead should be raised 12 inches. Now, I thought that I told them I thought at board meetings in the past that there's been some discussion on having a mandatory raising of bulkheads, and they
Well,
couldn't.
the team has looked into this
just a
So
note.
they've looked into this.
And what was the, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
That and temporary bulkheads for wave action is something else that
What do you- I don't
they're
understand
discussing.
what it is.
They, a lot of places they specifically mentioned Bob Abley. When waves are coming up, this is just storm related. When waves are coming up and coming over his bulkhead, they want to be able to install temporary bulkheads to lift that up. They can only be put up 3 days before the storm. Must be down within 48 hours after the storm and things like that. So they're looking into that.
From your world, so.
Dan?
Will our next agenda, our next regular meeting include a visit by the chairman of this committee to the board to talk about a couple of these things?
Yes, I believe that they're going to be attending our meetings from now on. Like I said, Mr. Maynard was here.
I had been asked before I left, and the reason I brought this up was that he wanted to be specifically on the agenda for the meeting with respect to the 12-inch bulkhead increase and the temporary bulkheads. I don't know that they've brought that up with you or not, but you're in the driver's seat now with those guys. You just might want to check that out.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he's mentioned that he wanted to be on the next meeting, but they do want to be involved in.
I've got the email. I'll send it along to you and send it back to you.
Marty?
Does anybody know how far this goes back? I'm not sure it doesn't go back to Hatfields and McCoys.
This one.
Every time there's a northeast storm, there is all but bloodshed between Bob, Darce Lloyd is his neighbor, and they install temporary bulkheading to their bulkhead, which is a absolute violation of the DRs and probably the guidelines and this entire book.
Right, they know that.
And it comes up and comes up and comes up. The problem is you don't do just theirs, you got to do them all. Because if you just do theirs, it floods their neighbors.
That's what I brought up.
This has always been an issue that's a little bit self-serving. Sorry, Bob, if you're watching, but it's a fact. It's a little self-serving. It sort of goes along the line with, I need the leaves picked up in my ditch.
Yep.
Any other
That's
questions
fine.
around the
I'm done.
table? Audience? Guest? Members? Tom?
The islands that you all talked about, the potential fill for dredge material, Osprey Point or Pines Point Marina?
Osprey Point.
Osprey Point, those
Both
little,
from
yeah.
Okay.
Just
Joe?
north of Pines Point Marina.
I withdraw my final sentence and apologize for it. by the way.
Thank you, Joe. You're a gentleman.
On this issue, over at Secrets, I would suggest that the board of directors read the Secrets lease. We have a lease with Secrets. Secrets lease makes it abundantly clear, totally clear, that they have an encroachment, that they have built a wall and part of a structure that contains bass on OPA's property. The lease recognizes that. And the lease also says, if we don't renew, or the next time we come up for renewal, or whatever, they must agree to remove all that. So there's no question about there being an encroachment. They encroached on our property, built stuff on our property without a permit. We allowed it to happen. It was years ago. We don't even look at it. It came up, and it's recognized in the lease. And quite frankly, the next time that lease negotiation comes up, I think we ought to be looking to use that as a hammer to get more money. Rather than being good neighbors.
More money in your hand goes up.
Thank you,
Right.
Dan.
And the idea that there's no pier over there anymore. There was a pier there, but that's all gone. But quite frankly, if I were a board, I would have somebody at Public Works or somewhere go talk to the Corps of Engineers or whoever handles the piers, because the fact that we had a dock there at one time has some meaning under the laws regarding piers, I believe. And it's difficult to get piers in some instances. So having a pier there previously maybe is some benefit. We ought to look into that, to tell you the truth, because at some
That's
point
what
down the
Amy
road, that
Ross used
property
to
could be
come
very
across,
valuable.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, Jan? Thank you, Joe.
I think that Joe, I have been involved in the past in those lease negotiations. And to the issue of adverse possession, which is a fact of law in Maryland, if you don't do something about someone encroaching upon your property, it becomes their property after 20 years.
That's not an issue.
We're covered.
But the reason the lease is written the way it's written is to avoid the adverse position,
Right.
adverse
Right.
possession issue.
Right.
You know, with respect to that being a hammer, who knows?
Okay, anything else? All right, the last one was CPI, or CIP.
Well,
Excuse me, do we
one
wanna?
more
Yes, sir.
quick liaison report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The bylaws committee has been busy. There are 3, count them, F01, 02, and 03 budget finance resolutions that are up for review. They will be coming to the board in the next 90 days or so.
F, did you say?
F01, 02,
Got
and
it.
03.
Okay.
So we're looking for a first reading sometime in October.
Probably
November.
October, November,
October.
somewhere in that time frame. The emphasis is being placed on MO9 to get that cleaned up, and then they're moving on with the finance.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
One more comment.
You just said one more before.
I know, I lied.
Okay.
We're in a sec.
You're out of one more.
I just
Your
went to
hour's
this meeting.
up.
I just went to this meeting. My hour was up 29
I know.
minutes ago.
I'm trying to move this along.
There's one more issue that they're going to bring to the board, and I don't know, I think that's going to happen relatively rapidly, and that's with respect to a bylaws change. Because the Budget and Finance Committee has recommended to the Bylaws Committee that the Bylaws Committee come to the board with this recommendation that we reduce the board's ability to spend money from 20% of what the income we earn to 10%. Their evaluation recommendation will be coming on that to us as well.
Okay,
Should be
thank you.
2 of them there.
Any more one-mores?
No more.
Okay, thank you.
Unless I can move the adjournment.
We have to give Mr. Thompson his opportunity.
Not necessarily. There you go.
We were leaving after an hour. What
Do we need our
I
big
know,
book
I
out?
think you do, no, sir.
You know?
Sherry, you want to ask a question?
All right.
What's the group want to do?
Does the group want to stop at this point, or do we want Mr. Thompson to give his report?
You know, move on.
Terry, what do you think?
Fine.
Marty?
Sure.
Dan?
I'm past my hour, so you've
Oh,
already got
okay.
my
Bill? Move on. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Tom?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, fine. Thank you. All right.
All right, I'll try to be brief on this as well. The first, the short stack I handed you, these were the changes. If you recall, we reviewed the capital improvement plan, the process document. What we did was go through here and made the updates per our last meeting where you all had provided input. We tried to capture those on the document, the 2-page document, and then in the thick 14-page document is where the highlights should match this. So where you recommended changes, we implemented those changes. So this is just a follow-up in a way that we try to provide it to you so you could track the changes that we made per your request. Question about that?
That's going to be some comparing.
What's that?
That's going to require some comparing, I think.
Well, I can tell you, I can tell you the notes page I gave you matches the highlights. It's just a matter of if it matches what you thought you wanted to have in there, whoever you may be, depending on who gave the recommendation. We didn't track who made the recommendation. Okay, the next document, it pertains to the same materials. Okay, what we did was try to break down what's been accomplished on the capital improvement plan. So the work accomplished, part 1's complete with the changes in the review, which is what I just handed out to you. You guys obviously can take that back and look at it. Implementation of the actual all right, well, thank you. Implementation of the commercial off-the-shelf computerized, basically basically the maintenance system that was replacing Cardiograph, has been accomplished. From a standpoint, we've acquired it. We're in the process of making the changes. When I say changes, we're going through the implementation process where we're adding all of the sections, all the information about the buildings that we have available, all the fleet equipment, all the current data and maintenance records are all being migrated from the old system to the new one. Between the October-November timeframe, additional training will be conducted from the supplier of the system. December, we'll begin to run the new system parallel with the Cardiograph system. In January, we'll terminate the legacy of the Cardiograph system and be completely on the new system. So that's following that process. It's something I had told everyone we were doing, but we're just giving you an update on what's occurred. We're also working on identifying all the new capital requirements. We've had great information from the Aquatics Advisory Committee. They gave us a 5-year plan. We also had Tennis Advisory Committee. They're working on, they have a draft document that we've looked at. It's looking at a 5-year plan as well. These items we're using as part of our framework as we're doing the rack and stack for the new facilities. We're taking the input from these folks, looking at what we already have, and we're trying to implement it in there in the right areas so it makes sense for everything. We're also including the stormwater management. The RFPs went out to get information back in July, very end of July. They're due back actually on the 12th of this month. We know that at this point we know 4 proposals are being prepared in some very different ways to look at stormwater management. The other piece is the bridge repairs, and the RFP went out. 2 proposals are received. A 3rd proposal went out and due back on the 18th. So we're getting all the bridge information, all of the stormwater management information. And the reason I tell you this, because we'll include this in the long-range planning with the CIP, because it's something that everyone felt needed to be in there. From there, we'll complete the rack and stack on the projects, revise part 2 of the document, and then submit that for your review, much like we did with the first one. Part 1 is a draft. We'll give it to you, you'll review it, then we'll go through page by page, areas that you're concerned about, areas you think we need to make changes on, and we'll follow that same process. We'll make the changes, track the changes, and then have a final product.
Are you finished with your presentation? Okay. Any questions among the table members? Members of the table. Members of the table, a round table. I think this is going to require some reading. Thank you for all this. Yeah. Anybody else in the room? Tom.
Yeah. What's your expectation on the delivery of your draft phase 2, the rack and stack?
November.
November.
For the November board
Work
meeting.
session? Okay.
Any other questions? Gary? Nope.
Good.
Well, we almost made an hour.
Move to adjourn.
I want to thank everybody. This has been a learning session for us. Hopefully it's going to be successful in the future to be able to do this. This is something, okay. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for all of you sitting in the back with your thoughts and your questions and suggestions. See you all in another week. A big meeting. Well, this table, yeah, 2 days, right?
That's fine.